There are 195 countries recognized in the world today, but none of them can quite match the wild uniqueness of Saudi Arabia. Seriously, you never know what you'll run into or stumble upon over there. And today's video is about to show you exactly why Saudi Arabia stands in a league of its own. These are the 15 things that can't be seen anywhere in the world but in Saudi Arabia. Number 15. Opening up Valentine's Day. Traditions in Saudi Arabia have long drawn clear lines around what's acceptable and what isn't, and for the longest time, Valentine's Day sat firmly on the unacceptable side. The idea of celebrating love in public clashed hard with conservative values. Florists sold roses in secret, couples hid their celebrations, and the whole holiday felt almost rebellious. It was like you were buying some secret atomic weapons. Then, in 2018, a small but significant shift happened. A top religious authority said that celebrating Valentine's wasn't a violation of Islamic principles after all. Overnight, an underground holiday stepped into the light. Red roses, heart-shaped balloons, and public expressions of affection became visible in ways that had been unthinkable just a few years earlier. It wasn't exactly a free-for-all, certain boundaries still remain, but it was a clear marker that Saudi culture was bending ever so slightly toward a new openness. Love didn't suddenly flood the streets, but it no longer had to hide in the shadows either. Number 14. The right to drive. For a long time, the very thought of a woman behind the wheel was considered scandalous in Saudi Arabia. The driving ban wasn't just a law, it was a reflection of a rigid belief system that limited women's independence at every turn. In 2018, when the ban was finally lifted, it made international headlines for good reason. Women had fought tirelessly for years, risking arrest, public humiliation, and even exile just to claim a right that most people around the world view as basic freedom. The change didn't come from kindness, it came from mounting pressure, both internally and externally, for the kingdom to modernize. Today, Saudi women drive through the same streets they were once forbidden from touching without a male driver, but the road to full equality is still bumpy. As symbolic as this right is, true freedom is about more than turning a key. It's about dismantling the barriers that should never have been built in the first place. Number 13. Magic and sorcery. Well, belief in magic and sorcery might sound like something out of an ancient tale, but in Saudi Arabia, it's a chilling legal reality. Practicing sorcery is considered a serious crime, punishable by death. And no, this isn't just a thing of the distant past. In 2009, Ali Hussein Sibat, a Lebanese TV host who made astrological predictions, was arrested while on a pilgrimage to Mecca. Despite promises of clemency after confessing on live TV, he was ultimately executed. Saudi authorities have also arrested both locals and foreigners on similar charges, claiming it's a violation of Islamic law. Sorcery accusations often rely on questionable proof, and confessions are frequently obtained under duress. It's a reminder that despite strides toward modernization, ancient fears still have lethal consequences in parts of Saudi society. Discussions about reform continue, but when it comes to so-called black magic, the stakes remain frighteningly real even today. So if you ever find yourself in the land of the two holy mosques, never predict anything. Number 12. Camel Market. In the heart of Saudi Arabia's desert lies the world's largest and biggest camel market, a sprawling, month-long festival unlike anything else. Every year starting January 1st and running through February 1st, breeders, owners, and enthusiasts gather outside Riyadh to show off their prized camels. But this isn't just a dusty livestock auction, it's a full-blown cultural phenomenon. Camels are showcased for beauty contests, races, and even fashion competitions, with millions in prize money up for grabs. The government pulls out all the stops, turning the event into a massive tourist attraction with exhibitions, shopping stalls, and entertainment zones. Yet underneath the glamour, the camel remains a symbol of Saudi endurance, history, and resilience. For centuries, camels were the lifeline of desert survival. Now they are celebrated with the grandeur they deserve. Now, we say just one thing. Just don't get too close without warning. No matter how fancy the setting, a camel's bad attitude and spit hasn't changed a bit. Number 11. Prohibition. When Saudi Arabia banned alcohol in 1952, it wasn't following a global trend, it was drawing a hard religious and cultural line. Unlike the US Prohibition era, where speakeasies and mob-run bootlegging exploded, Saudi Arabia's crackdown was severe and unwavering. Possession, consumption, and trafficking of alcohol are all strictly illegal, and the penalties are no joke. Think fines, jail time, and deportation for foreigners. That said, black market alcohol is still a thriving underground business, with smuggled spirits finding their way into private gatherings. In 2024, Saudi Arabia made headlines by allowing a small, controlled alcohol store in Riyadh's diplomatic quarter. But it's strictly for non-Muslim diplomats. Everyday citizens and foreign workers are still banned. The government's cautious steps toward modernization haven't quite broken through this cultural wall yet. For now, prohibition is very much alive, and alcohol remains one of Saudi Arabia's most tightly controlled substances. And let's be real, isn't it good? We mean alcohol is a liquid death. So a ban on it should be seen as a good thing, right? Number 10. Water prices. Water isn't just a necessity in Saudi Arabia. It's practically a luxury in some areas. In a country dominated by harsh desert landscapes, getting access to clean drinking water is no simple task. About 50% of Saudi Arabia's drinking water today comes from desalination plants, 40% is sourced from non-renewable groundwater, and only a slim 10% comes from natural surface water in the mountainous southwest. In some cases, water has even become more expensive than oil, and that's saying something in a nation built on oil wealth. Major cities like Riyadh have enormous pipelines stretching over 400 kilometers just to bring in enough water to sustain daily life. Smaller towns and rural areas aren't so lucky, often relying on private companies to truck in water. Even then, shortages are common. It's a daily reminder that no amount of wealth can fully overcome the environmental realities of living in one of the driest regions on Earth. Number 9. Saudi weddings. Saudi weddings are extravagant, deeply traditional affairs that weave together family ties, religion, and cultural heritage. When a marriage is arranged, it usually starts with negotiations between the families rather than just a meeting between two individuals. Once agreements are reached, a formal reading from the Quran sets the religious tone, followed by the signing of a marriage contract that outlines rights and responsibilities. Interestingly, the celebrations are split, one party for men and another for women, each filled with music, dancing, and lavish feasts. Eventually, the bride and groom are brought together to mark the union. It's not just about two people starting a life, it's an event honoring community, lineage, and faith. Despite modern influences slowly creeping into Saudi society, weddings remain one of the most firmly traditional aspects of life. Extravagant or humble, each wedding carries the weight of generations, a reminder that in Saudi Arabia, marriage is as much a communal bond as it is a personal one. Number 8. Traveling women. For decades, Saudi women faced very heavy restrictions when it came to something as basic as travel. Until 2019, a woman couldn't even think about getting a passport without direct permission from a male guardian. And even then, traveling solo wasn't an option. It didn't matter if she was educated, financially independent, or simply wanted to visit family abroad, she needed a man's approval stamped all over her plans. These restrictions reflected deep-rooted beliefs about control and capability. Even after reforms allowed women to travel independently, many wonder if it was about real progress or simply a calculated move to clean up Saudi Arabia's international reputation. With a major push to boost tourism and modernize the country's image, the government needed the world to believe it was evolving. Still, no matter the motive behind the law change, it marked a long overdue shift for millions of Saudi women finally claiming a basic right the rest of the world often takes for granted. So, thanks for everything. Number 7. Dogs. Saudi Arabia's relationship with dogs is complicated and shaped by a mixture of religion, culture, and law. While owning pets isn't banned, dogs are generally viewed differently compared to Western societies. For many Saudi families, dogs are seen primarily as working animals, security guards, hunting partners, not as household companions. Bringing a dog into the country comes with a labyrinth of restrictions, permits, vet clearances, customs, paperwork, and even breed bans. Popular watchdog breeds are allowed under strict guidelines, but others, like pit bulls, are outright prohibited. If your dog doesn't fit into a functional category, don't expect smooth sailing. Cultural norms also mean that public displays of affection toward pets, something common elsewhere, can raise eyebrows here. Saudi Arabia's cautious approach reflects its balancing act between modern lifestyles and deeply rooted traditions. Even as attitudes soften among younger generations, dogs remain, for now, a niche part of Saudi life, rather than a widespread cultural fixture. Number 6. Local job opportunities. For years, Saudi Arabia leaned heavily on foreign workers to build and maintain key industries. Skilled labor, technical roles, and even service jobs were often filled by expats, while locals were steered into specific traditional careers. This reliance created an economic imbalance that the government finally decided to tackle. As part of Vision 2030, serious efforts are underway to strengthen local employment. The goal isn't just to create more jobs, it's about making Saudis the backbone of sectors they used to outsource. Special programs are training citizens to step into tech, tourism, healthcare, and beyond, offering incentives for businesses that prioritize Saudi hires. It's a massive shift for a country where imported expertise was once the norm. But real change doesn't happen overnight. Building a workforce that can sustain itself means changing mindsets, developing skills, and creating real opportunities for growth. It's a challenge Saudi Arabia seems determined to meet, one step at a time, reshaping its future from the inside out. Number 5. Prayer. In Saudi Arabia, prayer isn't just a personal act of faith, it's woven into the rhythm of everyday life. 5 times a day, the adhan, or call to prayer, echoes from mosques across the country. When that happens, daily activities come to a halt. Shops close, businesses pause, and even large crowds at malls or restaurants stop everything to pray. It's not just a cultural expectation, it's a national practice deeply rooted in Islamic tradition. In fact, it's common to see closed for prayer signs outside shops and offices multiple times a day. However, this tradition also raises unique challenges. In a retail setting, for example, security becomes a concern when workers abandon their posts for prayer. In 2013, there were discussions about adjusting regulations to better balance religious duties with public safety and commerce, but change has been slow. Prayer remains an unshakable pillar of Saudi life, illustrating the powerful role of faith in shaping the nation's daily routines. And with this, we're with Saudi. Are you? Alright, now let's move to number 4. The Master Gas System. In a world increasingly obsessed with renewable energy, Saudi Arabia is betting big on natural gas as a cleaner bridge to the future. The Master Gas System, spearheaded by Saudi Aramco, isn't just a project, it's a critical piece of the country's transformation. It pulls together the massive gas fields scattered across Saudi territory into one interconnected network, delivering cleaner burning fuel for homes, businesses, and industries. This strategy isn't about abandoning oil overnight, it's about reducing the environmental footprint while still capitalizing on natural resources. Saudi Arabia now ranks among the top 6 gas markets globally, and they're not stopping anytime soon. Expansion plans aim to double down on efficiency, lower emissions, and even create partnerships abroad. It's a bold move for a nation often seen only through the lens of crude oil. If the master gas system succeeds at scale, it could redefine how Saudi Arabia powers itself and prove that change can come even from places built on fossil fuels. Number 3. Arabian Cinema. Saudi Arabia spent over 3 decades without a formal cinema industry. From the early 1980s until 2018, movie theaters were completely banned, considered incompatible with cultural and religious values. Films were labeled as distractions that could potentially undermine moral standards. But as part of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's Vision 2030 reforms, the ban was lifted and theaters slowly began popping up across the country. Now, it wasn't just about screening foreign blockbusters, it was about creating a new avenue for national pride and cultural storytelling. Saudi filmmakers were encouraged to step into the spotlight, building an entertainment sector where none had existed before. Theaters became a symbol of a shifting society, still cautious, still deeply tied to tradition, but willing to dip a toe into a more globalized, open world. It's a small but significant piece of a larger effort to reshape Saudi Arabia's future, blending old identity with new ambitions, all while navigating a delicate balancing act. Number 2. Gambling. Gambling isn't just illegal in Saudi Arabia, it's deeply woven into the moral and religious framework of the country. Betting in any form is viewed as a serious offense under Islamic law, and the government enforces that view with zero tolerance. Even activities you might assume would spark betting, like camel racing, come with strict anti-gambling rules. Yet, what makes Saudi Arabia different from some other nations is how unified public opinion remains on the issue. Most Saudis agree that banning gambling protects society from the financial and moral problems that often follow it. While outsiders might see an opportunity for tourism dollars or entertainment revenue, the Saudi leadership has made it clear that not every form of modernization needs to come at the expense of cultural values. There's a certain resilience in that decision. Not every tradition is negotiable, even in a country racing toward economic transformation. In Saudi Arabia, some lines simply aren't meant to be crossed, no matter the profit. Number 1. Female dress code. Saudi Arabia's dress code for women has long been a subject of heavy debate, and while things have loosened slightly since 2019, the conversation isn't over. Traditionally, women in Saudi Arabia are seen wearing garments like the abaya, often paired with a hijab or niqab, covering most or all of their bodies. While some women genuinely choose to wear these garments as a matter of faith or cultural pride, others face intense societal pressure to conform. Critics argue that despite modern reforms, many women still feel obligated to uphold these dress codes to avoid judgment from the public or worse. Progress has been slow. Even today, basic rights like employment opportunities remain limited. Only about 22% of women were employed around 2019, and significant pay gaps persist. The government often presents reforms as a leap forward, but many believe it's a cosmetic change designed to soften the country's image internationally rather than an authentic shift toward equality. What do you say about it? Well, let us know. And with that, that's it for today's video. We hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.